Welcome to the Mindfulness Academy Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Morgan. And on today's show, we have Lora Henderson. Hi, Lora.
Hi.
Hello. I'm going to let you know a little bit about Lora. Lora received a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, a Master's in Organizational Management from Ashford University, and is a graduate of the Chaplaincy Training Institute. She is the owner of Beautiful Minds, where she teaches mindfulness, breathing, and meditation techniques to aid in stress, anxiety, anger, and many other daily challenges in finding your peace. Lora hosted the weekly internet radio show, Let's Talk About It, Mental Health Out in the Open, for over 2 years, which sought to remove the stigma associated with seeking and receiving help. Lora's work history spans years of managing social and community service programs, providing direction for homeless families, individuals with challenging mental health issues, and those struggling with substance abuse. As the director of the AmeriCorps program, she led the First Street Outreach program for Horizon House. Her work has garnered a number of awards and a feature in the Indianapolis Star. Welcome, Lora.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I am too, and I'm so excited for our conversation today. I always like to open the podcast with a little bit about our connection. I don't just find these people out on the street that we have some sort of background connection. And as is the case with a number of folks who've come on the show, you come through one of my favorite people, Robert Olemiller.
Absolutely. He's wonderful. He's just an exceptional individual. He is.
He has been such an instrumental part of my mindfulness journey. And when he says, you might consider having this person on the show, I am quick to listen because he has a really good eye for folks who have a lot to contribute to the conversation. So how do you know Robert?
Well, I met him through someone else, and we just got a connection from there. I did a mindfulness session with him at an agency for reentry. And because I've worked in the prison, and he that's one of his passions, is about the mindfulness in prison. And so we've talked about that, and how will that look? How can we get that back in, get it in as a daily part of some courses for the individuals in prison, because it does work. I taught at one of the prisons, reentry. I taught Thinking for a Change, which is very much on the same course of mindfulness, because it all starts up here first. And so we've talked about that, and I just love to be in conversation with him. He's such a wonderful person, and he just really has this in heart for people to learn.
He really does. I would like to know a little bit more about you. I know you have a really interesting background and a beautiful story. I'm wondering if you could tell us where you grew up, what your family was like growing up, any kind of work or informational background.
Absolutely.
Let us know who is Lora Henderson.
Well, she had a journey to get to this person here today. I tell you that. And I used to kind of be shy about telling it or sharing it because I didn't think it was such a great story. But then I've met so many youth and so many young ladies that are struggling, trying to find their way because maybe they were adopted out or they've been in foster care. And so that's my story. And I tell them my story. And I tell them, I remember I was 6 years old when I left. I had to leave my mother's house. And I came from Marion, Indiana. I couldn't even see out of the car, but I just remember the cornfield coming to Indianapolis. I didn't know where I was going. And so it's not a good journey until I got adopted. And I couldn't have gotten a better family if I chose them myself. But because I knew my mom, I knew my brother, I always had that yearning to be with them. And so I struggled with where I was at. So that made life very hard. And that's what I see with young people today. They may be in a good placement, a great placement, but they struggle because they know that they came from someplace else. Now, for my adopted mother, she wouldn't share with me about my other family. And it was just a yearning and a burning in me. If I just could know, it's like Christmas in that box. If I could just know what's in there, and she wouldn't do it. And I believe to this day, rest her soul, she's a beautiful woman. She did everything for me, but I did not get that. And that was one thing that I was yearning for. And so I understand that with youth. And sometimes they're struggling so hard and they don't understand why they're struggling hard. Well, come to find out, they've been through the system, things have happened. And how do we move on from that? And I had to do that for myself, teach myself how to do that. And then I got to college and became interested in psychology and mental health. And some things I was reading, I was like, hey, that's me. That's me. That's what's happened to me, And this is how I have grown to become this individual I was. And it helped also as a mother, because I have 2 children. I had to know about myself and some of my triggers to be able to not pass those on to my children. So it's a journey, I tell you, learning yourself, learning who you are. Now, this person I am today, I wish I knew that person back then. I wish I knew how to breathe back then and say, you know what, just take some time out. It's going to be okay, because if it was meant for you, you're going to get there. My grandmother told me that I had to go to school. I used to stay home with my grandmother. And so time came to go to school. And so I said, I didn't want to go because I had the fear of leaving her and not being able to come back, because that's what happened to me as a child. And she said, well, I had to, because I had to learn my name. I had to learn how to write my name, my phone number, and my address. And when I did that at school, I was done. I wasn't going back. And she had a hard time convincing me to go back. So I had a beautiful kindergarten teacher named Miss Fields at School 44. She made me love her class, but I didn't like school because I always had the fear my home was going to be gone when I got back. And I struggled with school. I didn't want to be there. And if someone had told me later in life that I would have went back to school to get a bachelor's or a master's, to go back to school, period, I would have said, not me, but I did. And because I needed that piece of my life to do what I wanted to do for other people and to be with other people. Not necessarily that I got the certificate that said I earned the master's or the bachelor's. I was working with the homeless. Here's the truth of the story. I was working with the homeless. And I didn't have a bachelor's at that time. I was a community health worker. And all of a sudden, after 5 years of working with them, you had to have a bachelor's in order to do the job I was doing. So that forced me to go back to school because I loved what I was doing. And so then from there, I just went on. I found a love in school and I went on and did that. And I take courses all the time now. If my grandmother could be here, she would not believe this was me. I take courses all the time because I love to learn now. So we do change, we evolve through life. Things come in our life, people come in our life to help us change that. So
love all of that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so grateful you're at a place where you can share it as a way to help other people. I think sometimes we go through things, even very painful, difficult things on our journey. And I think sometimes those are used to bless others, to help others along the path. And that's the blessing that comes out of it. You wear a lot of hats. In fact, I know that I trimmed down your bio significantly because you have done so much to give back. You definitely have a heart of service and generosity. I'm wondering if you would give us a little bit of a summary of some of the things that you're up to these days. I know you have Beautiful Minds, your business, so I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. I know you have CAPS, the recovery home for men, primarily veterans, I believe that you said. I definitely am interested in hearing about that. If there's anything else you want to talk about, go for it.
Well, I work part-time for a National Church Residency, and they have a small community that works, that houses individuals that have a diagnosis of HIV or AIDS. So I work there as their service coordinator, resource coordinator there. I'm sorry. And then at my church, I'm the service coordinator, and I help on Thursdays. We have a feeding ministry. And so I go over if anyone is in there that needs some type of services, needs a job, GED or their resume or whatever, I work with them. It could be healthcare, mental health. I'm there also just to kind of be the host and the guest when they come, to greet the guests when they come in, because everybody isn't kind to people with mental health challenges. And a lot of people think they're putting on, maybe not. Who are we to choose and judge? And so I just greet them, and I greet them to whoever they want to be today is fine with me. I worked in Louisville for 7 years on the streets with unmedicated homeless, and my job was to befriend them in a manner that would get them to come in and start accepting services so that I could get them housed. I love that job dearly. It was a grant, and as with most my jobs, my resume could probably be as long as your wall there, or as wide, because I worked on a lot of grants. My good friend, Lena Hackett, she was my boss in the beginning, hired me for not the homeless initiative. I'm sorry. She hired me for the HIP program. And so we were downtown then. We were a small agency. It was maybe 5 or 6 of us. And we had a little small building for Horizon House at that time. So as things do, we grew, we expanded, we became partnered with Methodist in a manner. Then Horizon House had outgrew their spot, and we got another spot, but Dr. And I would deliver services on the street on Fridays. I would work with the homeless pregnant women, and he would work with the men. And we would try to get them to come to Horizon House or go to other places if they needed services. Mrs. O'Bannon, at the time, Governor O'Bannon's wife, she wanted a AmeriCorps program. And she wanted him to deliver services on the street. And so I was chosen to learn that program. I was sent to Washington, D.C., and I learned the AmeriCorps program, and I came back and created that at Horizon House. She told me to hire whoever that was going to be able to help me and knew the knowledge of the streets, and we could get into these homeless camps. And my very first person, the application at the bottom, it said, have you ever been arrested? And it says, yes, and then it says, for what? And it said murder. And my face kind of did like that, because I was not expecting that to be my first one. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I, had to kind of do a little mindfulness. I didn't know about it at that time, but I had to kind of, breathe and change all of my facial. And so we talked about it. We'll come to find out the charge was there, but he was wrongfully charged. So that you can't write all that out on the paperwork. And when he told me about the story and everything, I remember Russ McQuaid from Fox 59 following this story. I was told by my peers not to hire him. Oh, not the first one, because you don't want that. And I said, no, that's not what I said. I said I would. And I tell you that to say, never discount people. People bring good things. You just don't know what you do for someone. This Horizon House has been open for over 20 years now. He was my first hire. The individuals that told me or suggested for me not to hire him because of his criminal history background, they were long gone. I was long gone. He just retired last year after 20 years.
Are you kidding me?
After 20 years. And, he was so grateful to me, but I was grateful that I was able to be in that position to give him that. And, so just watching him and being able to do that taught me so much about people. And you have to read more than what's on the paper sometimes. You only get a small portion of a line on the piece of paper, but do that. And Russ McQuaid did a couple of stories on us. I think the title of it was called You Could Be Me. And gave the whole story about he, was incarcerated for these charges and lost everything. And then he was released. Go live your life now, And so he goes with me at times in various places and tells his story now. He's a little disabled now, but he still loves to tell and share the story of how he got to where he is today. And so just being able to do that with individuals on the street, my heart loves to work on the street with homeless and those disadvantaged. But the goal is to be able to see them and help them find their way and know that, I was created for more than what I got right here, what I'm receiving right now. And when they can do that, Amy, my heart sings. The bells ring in my ears. I have so many good stories to tell you about individuals that just needed somebody to ask every day, how you doing? We're going to do this today. I met a young girl at the shelter and wanted to be a nurse, but was going to settle for a nurse's aide. No, ma'am, we don't settle. If that's what you want to be, that's what you want to be. And we're going to work to be it. And to this day, she's a grandmother now. To this day, she is an RN, BSN, and runs the clinics. Hallelujah. That still, I get filled with that. It wasn't me that did the work. I just set things in motion for her to help her see that you can do this for yourself. And that's all a lot of people just need, is just that hand to say, hey, yes, you can do this. We can do this together. I'll help you take the first step. There's so much so many smart youth out there, just so knowledgeable, but they're stuck in a place and they don't know how to get out of it. And what I've learned, and this might be going ahead, but what I've learned is that mindfulness can help you get to those places.
Yes, we certainly will delve into that as we continue our conversation. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about Beautiful Minds, when you launched that company, and what do you do with
Well,
Beautiful
during
Minds?
COVID, I kept thinking, there's something else I need to do for people, and I'm not sure what it is. And then I saw something come up about John Kabat-Zinn. And I said, mindfulness, let me see what this is about. It's another opportunity to learn, but I didn't know that I was going to fall in love with it in the manner that I did. And I just wanted more. I don't remember my instructor's name at this time, but he was wonderful. And I said, oh my God, if I can do this for myself, and I know so many other people that this would benefit from. So I just continued to learn about that, and took the certification class and decided that, you know what, I want to share this with other people. And at that time, I was thinking my youth, because they get so anxious and they live in fight or flight all the time. And so being able to teach them how to let this go, but I didn't know it was going to take on like that. And I was talking to my daughter about it, and I said, well, I want to create this business. And she said, well, Mama, I think you should. And I said, but I don't know what to call it. And she said, well, name it Beautiful Minds, because that's what you're doing. You're working with the mind. It's already beautiful. They just need to evolve. And I said, oh, okay, I guess. But it seemed to have stuck, Beautiful Mind. So that's what it is. My daughter named it pretty much for me. But it does talk about what I'm doing, though. It does address what I'm doing, creating a beautiful mind, or opening it up like a tulip in bloom. It was already there. I'm just helping you bloom that tulip. And so I just love to read about it, read more, learn more about it. Robert loves that as well, so I get that from him and the times that I've spent with him. But I've added more to it just because of my mental health part. Because what I found out is people, they love to know something new to help themselves, but they want to know how you know how to do it. Is it for real, or do you just read a book? And so, I go and I explain it to them. But then the other part of it is, but I want to give you a little bit of the mental health that I've done for years. So let's work on your mind. So with youth, we always start off with what I can control and what I can't, because they focus on that so much, about what the other child or other people are saying or doing or not doing, when we have this big space. And this big space is covered in our mind about everything, let's say everything that Amy's doing or everything that Amy's saying or not doing. Then we get this little small space, and it's me. And we don't give ourselves all the space we need. We need to reverse that. We need to be the big space and take care of self and put other people in that smaller space, because they assume assume our time. We're constantly thinking about them. Should I wear this? What are they going to say today? I really want to sing, but they don't like how my voice sounds. So the youth focus on so much of that. So I put that with mindfulness. I like to do the guided mindfulness because I usually read them through something, whatever the case may be. I try to find one that addresses what's happening for that class or for those individuals. So I just got into that. Like I said, during COVID, like so many other people did so many other new things with life during COVID, and it's kind of stuck with me, and I love it. And I love when people can really get that breath and get that breathing in there. And then I say, do you feel that? And they say, yes, I feel that. And I feel like I have given them something, I was like the Wizard of Oz. You had it all the time. And I get so excited for them when they can feel it. And I say, you feel good, don't you? And I just want to get that, it's like I'm at a birthday party. I just want to get that in there, give them that big surprise, give them that big present. And then I tell them, but you had it all the time. So
you had it all the time. That seems
yeah.
to be your theme, honestly, in the time that we have spoken back and forth. It's really that you don't see that you're giving somebody something that wasn't already there. It's that it's already there. We have innate wisdom and knowledge, and you're just there to open people's minds to it, allow it to manifest. So I love that. I do want to talk a little bit about your work with the homeless. You've worked with the homeless for over 25 years. Tell us about your work to help the homeless. You've touched on a little bit, but maybe talk about the CAPS recovery home.
Well, as you said, I worked on the streets with the homeless for 25 years. I had transitional housing that I ran for a property management company here that had special needs housing, and from mental health to recovery to domestic violence, to youth bill for youth that had no place to go. And so working with the 250 scatter sites, that's what I had, 250, and working with those individuals in each one of those categories. What I learned was, you know what, we all we want the same things. We just go about it differently. And so they taught me so much in those 25 years. I think it might have been 30 years working with them. And at one point I said I wasn't going to do this anymore. And that's when I left and went to Kentucky. And I was there like 2 weeks and started doing it all over again. But because that's what I'm driven to. But so watching the young mothers, even the people with mental health challenges, and then working with those that had substance abuse, I owned this home and I was trying to decide what I was going to do with it. I wanted to do something. I thought, do I want a bigger one? Do I want a smaller one? But then working in pretty much most of the shelters here in Indianapolis at some time or another, and recovery houses. They all have a time limit on it. So when you come in, you have either 28 days or you have 30 days. And what I found is people focus on that more than they do what they came there for either the recovery or to make a change in their lives and move out of homelessness. So the first day you step in, if it's 28, you're already down one, so that's their focus. Where am I going to go? So CAPS House, which I named after my uncle, who was the captain of police headquarters. And he taught me how to work with individuals, homeless or disadvantaged individuals. And he created what they call a coffee can fund. We didn't have food pantries at that time. And so the officers would put money in these cans, and when they would go to someone's home or someone would call and they needed food or diapers or lights, the officers could use that money out of the coffee can fund. And so he worked on the streets. He created the Dust Bowl. He did a lot of different things here to help people. And so that was my adopted mother's brother, but he was mine. I felt like he was mine. And I just learned that from him. And I didn't know it, that I was carrying on his legacy when he passed. And so when I opened the house, I said, I'm just going to name it after him. And so I just call it Cap's House because that's what everybody called him, Cap. Hey, Cap. And I have his picture there, and I have some news articles so the guys can read why I named it Cap's House. And it's a small home. I have 4 to 5 guys there because we don't normally live with 20, 30, well, 15 to 60 people in a home. So they've already gone through their 28 or 30 days. Let me back up for a minute. I originally started out as doing it as a veteran because my brother, my adopted brother, and then my birth brother were both veterans. So one has some challenges, and the other told me of his struggles, in the Marines. One was in the Army, and so I decided I would do this in honor of the veterans, and so I called it their Forever Home on the other side of CAPS because I don't put a time limit on it. This is your forever home as long as you're following the program and you stay clean. Because my goal is to teach you how you're supposed to live when you're clean. Maybe 4 or 5 people in a household, but you do your day-to-day things. You cook, you take your bath, you do whatever you do, drug-free. You take care of the yard. And I don't take government funding. It's a self-pay because you have to work. A little biblical in there. Man doesn't work, man doesn't eat. Even if they have benefits, they need to volunteer or do something somewhere. And so, I've had one gentleman has graduated after over a year, and he is now a mentor for other people in the court system. So the majority of my referrals come from the vet court. Now, every now and then I'll have 1 or 2 that are not veterans. But you have to have a certain demeanor and you have to be able to be a fit in that house. And so they are required to go to groups outside of the house, a minimum of 2. You can go to as many as you want, but the minimum is 2. And then on every Tuesday evening, they have group with me. And so in that, we talk about the mindfulness and how to calm yourself down. This past Tuesday, we talked about forgiveness. What does that look like? And then, there's all kind of meditation music on the YouTube you can find. So we do there was one for forgiveness on there. So we did that, and I did a guided reading on forgiveness. And again, with them, get that core breathing, start here. And then I would say, okay, and we're going to go to below the breastbone. And now the next time we're going to the core of the stomach. I need you to get that in there. I need you to feel that. And now I want you to let all that go away. And so we do that. And so, the judge says, thank you for what you've done at CAPS House. And I said, sir, I only created this house. The guys came there, they did it for themselves, and that's the goal, is for them to see that you can do it. And we love and support you here, and we're here to help you however to get through it. So having one gentleman now, another one, he'll be there over a year. He said, this is going to be my second winter with you. I said, I know. And so it's exciting for me. It's exciting for them. He has a job. He has a very good job, skills that he had, but he wasn't using them anymore because of his alcoholism. He just got promoted to supervisor on his job. When he came to tell us in the group, he cried. It was an accomplishment he had never done, something he wanted, but he had never done. And so I just love that part of it, being able to let people see, because I say you were created to be something, to do something on this earth, and it was not what you're doing. So let's find that. And when you find that, you have found you.
What a quote. What a quote. You've talked about mindfulness in a number of scenarios. I would love to hear how you define mindfulness, just in layman's terms, or how you define it yourself.
It's an opportunity when you're stressed, when your anxieties are creeping up on you. As I tell the little kids, when mom has just got on your last nerve and you don't know what to do, or before you go in the house from that job and you take all of that in there, just do a moment of mindfulness. It's relaxation. It's an opportunity to let go of what the world or other things or other people have done to you, and for that day or that moment or that space, and let it go. It's not that serious, but sometimes we get hung up in it and we don't know how to let it go. And we think inside, my God, how can I don't want to feel like this. And that's been me as a youth. I don't want to feel like that. But now I know how to let it go. And that's what mindfulness does. You can get all of this out of here. You can find a place in the elements to let it go when you breathe out, and I believe in it so much. I have a sign in my house that says breathe in, breathe out, repeat. I have another sign that I take with me. It says just breathe. I believe in it wholeheartedly. And I cannot believe I lived my life this long without knowing about it. But hey, that was my good part out of COVID, I guess.
That's a perfect segue. I always like to hear about my guests' journey to mindfulness. It sounds like it was perhaps some curiosity around the COVID time and wanting to learn more. Is that kind of how it all began? It sounds like you probably had some of those skills beforehand. That seems to be a common theme in my guests is, oh, I've actually been doing parts of this for a long time, but I just didn't label it mindfulness.
Absolutely.
But tell me a little bit more, and maybe it's as simple as that, but I'm curious about your path to mindfulness.
Well, as I said, I was trying to do something else during COVID, and I'm searching on the internet. And like I said, Jon Kabat-Zinn came up on there, and I'd heard about him throughout, life and read various things, and Dalai Lama and all of that, but not put that much emphasis or thought process in it. I always thought that, the Dalai Lama, he looked so peaceful when he was doing it and everything, but I didn't take the time to learn it and all of that. But I loved to watch him do it and all of that. And it was kind of, you got to do it. And I was like, so I'm not going to do that. That was kind of not inviting for people, I'm not doing that. And even still now, when you say, let's do some mindfulness, the first thing they think is, I got to sit on the floor with my legs crossed and I got to do this and I got to chant. And I said, no. And so the other part that COVID gave for me, because the training time was, I think, 8 weeks. I remember one training was all day. And so if I had been going to a job, I wouldn't have been able to do these things or do them successfully. I might have started them, but not completed them because my job would have had other obligations. So COVID gave me that. And so I could lock myself in my office space and do all of the tasks. And each one took me just a little bit closer to the love of it. And learning all the various ways. People think it's just the breathing. There's mindfulness for eating. There's mindfulness for sleeping, and the gamut goes on and on for mindfulness. So I was like, wow, my balloon was getting bigger and bigger as I was learning this. And I wanted to give it to more people. And I was thinking, this is, this will work for so-and-so, and this will work for so-and-so that I work with. And I couldn't wait till I could get to them to give this to them.
I believe we took the same training. Sounds like we had different teachers from our previous conversation, but I loved mindfulness-based stress reduction.
Absolutely.
Developed by Jon Kabat-Zinn. I too kept thinking, well, mindfulness is sitting on some sort of cushion that may or may not be comfortable. And there's probably some sort of sound going on. And I don't know if I'm here for all of that.
Absolutely.
It was surprising. There were even things such as a mindful walking meditation, which I don't know about you, but this girl right here, I am a fast walker. I like to just get places, get things done. And so mindfulness, it didn't really necessarily come easily to me because I'm not a naturally placid human being. I'm very type A, a very go. And it was a slowing down.
It was a challenge for you. Yeah. I
described it that, especially towards the beginning, but definitely on that day-long training, I felt like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. It felt so uncomfortable to sit there. I mean, how is the world continuing to spin without me doing all these things, right?
Right.
Business and mom and wife and all these things that just felt like there were a lot of balls in the air that I needed to keep going. And it felt very unnerving not to be doing something to support all of that.
All of that. Yeah. You couldn't let it go. You couldn't let it be in its space. No.
It was hard. It was really hard. But the beautiful thing was the world did keep spinning. It
It
was
did.
amazing. And when I came back, I was happier. Everybody else probably more peaceful. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It worked out. It worked out. I am wondering if you would tell us a little bit about your morning routine or just your mindfulness routine in general. I'm super interested in how people start their days, but sometimes folks have more of an evening or an afternoon routine. But tell us a little bit about your routines.
Well, in the mornings, certainly after I'm a chaplain as well, but and so regardless of that, my religion, I thank the Lord that my blood is still running warm in my bones, in my body. And then just being able to get that first good breath. Now, I will say that I am self-diagnosed what I call SAD, seasonal affective disorder. I'm a sun person, and my son's not out there, and so I really have to do the mindfulness before I hit the floor in the mornings when there is no sun. The sun, I'm okay, I'm ready to go, and I'll do it in the interim of getting ready. But once I get out this door, I know it's rush, rush, rush. But I'm doing mindfulness all day long, someplace in some part of my jobs. But for myself personally, I do it, and I'm just so thankful for the breath that I can get through my body. And as I tell people, we say, breathe. I don't know what she's talking about, but we surface breathe. We're just in and out until we can't. And being a 2-time breast cancer survivor and going through a lot of surgeries, I understand struggling for that breath. So to have that ability to be able to go that deep and get that breath and to open that up and to calm myself down in the morning before my journey starts. I have a little dog, and it's a Shih Tzu. She's 14, but she thinks she's my boss. I'm surprised she hasn't barked yet. And so she gets very demanding in the morning what she wants. So I have to just kind of chill myself out before I come deal with her. I'm not going to say her name because she's sleeping somewhere right now. But so I do that for myself. I do that when I find myself getting behind. I start feeling anxious because I come and get on this computer in the morning, and then I get lost in it. And then I say, I got to get out of here. And so now I'm rushing. I got to slow myself down internally, or getting in it. I do it when I'm driving, really do it when I'm driving, because people drive all kind of ways, and you have to calm yourself down. And you certainly can't blow your horn like you used to. So you need to learn how to breathe through that moment and let people do what they do. And then when I get where I'm going, I have to do that before I go in there to talk to them about mindfulness. So I'm kind of doing it all day long in the course of my work. When I'm doing assessments with individuals and I'm asking them a question and they're going way off with the answer, and I need to give them that space and time to answer that. But kind of in that moment, my heart is kind of going, okay, come on, come on, come on, come on. But I breathe through it and we get through it. Or if people come and it's an anxious moment for them and they're hollering or whatever, well, let's breathe through this. Let's do this together. We can do this together. So I'm kind of doing it all day long in my work life. That's where I begin in the morning. Before I get my coffee, before I get to running, I do my breathing and just being thankful for this day and get my day going. I'm just doing it all day long. I really am.
I hear a common theme amongst my guests and folks I've spoken to about morning routines, about starting the day with gratefulness. And I remember probably 10 or 15 years ago hearing about there was a man, part of the church I was part of at the time, that he would get up in the morning. I think he was out on a mission field at the time that he was with someone that reported back to me what he saw this man do in the morning is he would stretch out wide and he would start his day just thanking God for being alive and being grateful for the things in his life that he was blessed with. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful orientation first thing in the morning to recognize not everybody gets to wake up today.
They don't.
They don't. And we're here for a reason, and we're breathing. Like, I love how you said it. The blood is still warm in my body, and that's something to be thankful for, because it can be, the mind can really fill up with, oh, this hurts. Oh, I got this going on. I really want to sleep a little bit longer. That mind can get going first thing down that negative track if you let it. But I love this concept of recognizing when a thought starts going down that direction, grabbing it, acknowledging it, and asking the mind to go back for a better thought. I know you can do better. I recognize all the stuff. I hear you. I'm not discounting it. It is early. The sun's not up anymore because we're in Indiana and this is what happens. It gets dark around this time. But I love that. I love going back for better thoughts and being thankful.
Absolutely. And we should be thankful for every day. Like you said, somebody didn't get up this morning. And so I have a job right now that I go not every morning, I go once a week and meet the school bus. And I have to be there at 7:00 in the morning. And so when I'm driving some mornings, I think, why did I say that? I would take this. It's 7:00 in the morning. There's no snow out here now. I leave now at 6:15 to get there at 7. Oh my God, when snow's going. So I have to say, Laura, stop, breathe through it. You'll get through it. And so I get there and I wait for the bus, and I do 2 classes of mindfulness for the youth to get them calm but not just the mindfulness. We talk about anxiety, we talk about fear, and where do we place that at? And sometimes some of the responses that we give out causes someone else to respond. And so how can we do that better? How can we be a better person today? And if you find yourself getting upset and frustrated, how can we breathe through this moment? And so, and what I don't necessarily share it with the students, but I share it with the teachers, and I share it with parents. Children have no safe place. They worry about being safe at home now. Flying bullets, we've heard that on the news, have come through the walls, the windows. They have to go to the bus stop. They're not safe on the bus stop. They're not safe on the bus. And they're not safe at school. And I can remember when I was in school, they used to have a placard on the outside of the wall of the school that says safe place. There is none up there. I don't know if anyone else other than me noticed it, but I don't see it anymore because school is not a safe place either. So where is their safe place? They have none. So they live in this fight or flight all the time. So can you imagine being that involved, that tied up that tight, and not know how to let this go as a small individual? Because my parent doesn't know how to let it go. So I just live like this. So I love to be able to help them learn how to breathe through it and let it go, because they're our next hope for our country, for our world. And we have to teach them small how to do this. I've taught little kids, and they have told, their mom would get upset, be so cute. They would say, Mom, just breathe. And that's just so funny. Mom, just breathe. But sometimes you have to give it to the kids to take back home if the parents aren't receiving it from you, and they'll receive it sometimes better from the children than they will from the instructor. And so I love to give that. And I hope that in me being able to do that I'm helped creating a better world, because we all live in this mass ball of confusion, and we choose not to talk with each other. I volunteer for Conflict Resolution Center here in Indianapolis. A lot of people don't know we have that yet, but conflict comes because we all want the same thing, but we're going about it the wrong way. And we won't talk about, I won't call Amy and say, Amy, your trash can is in my way every week. Would you please bring it in? Or just move it out of the way? But yet and still you would rather make that argument until bad things happen. So that's what the Conflict Resolution Center is for. And then I even tell them in conflict resolution, let's breathe. let's breathe. Let's take some breaths first. Let's breathe. Everybody's come in. They're anxious. I got to get my part out before he or she gets their part out. No, we're going to breathe first. We're going to just take a few breaths and get through this one. And I do it for retreats, people that work in stressful situations. And they work with John Q. Public. And John Q. Public wants their way, and you can only do it this way. And so helping them learn how to let it go and breathe through that moment, even while they're talking to them, and just let them go on. You find your safe space and breathe through it.
Like you're weaving mindfulness in all the corners of your life. And that's a blessing, I'm sure, to all those who are part of your life. I'm wondering if you could tell me about an instance when mindfulness has helped a kid or a family or someone who has struggled with addiction or might be in the recovery house.
Mm-hmm.
Give me one instance.
I have a couple that's really dear to me, but I think when I first realized that this was so beneficial for individuals in recovery, I go to a recovery house every 28 days. That's their time limit there, but I go and I do mindfulness. Some of them are at the end of their time. Some of them is their first day or whatever, but so we do, I take them through the Garden of Forgiveness. There's a guided meditation script for the Garden of Forgiveness. And I play music and I tell them that I need you to be in this space. This is you. I'm going to read this. This is you. And I want you to walk through this garden. And when we get to the end of this garden, you will have instructions of how to let this go. And so I think that's my most favorite one that I do with them. A gentleman came up to me and said, I've been in treatment many times, and this is the first time I've had this. And this is the first time that I've been able to let this go. So my use of drugs hurt a lot of people, and it hurt me. And I think some people died from me selling drugs. And he said, but I met them in the Garden of Forgiveness. That always tears me up when I tell this part. And I met them in the Garden of Forgiveness, and they forgave me. And he said, I think I can do this journey this time. And I thought to myself, wow, that's what I'm doing this for. That is really what I'm doing this for. And so I love it to do it. I love it to give to individuals to help them see, help them move on in life. I had a little boy, he was I guess on the spectrum, but he was very adamant in his conversation, just right at it. If he didn't like you, he didn't like you. If he liked you, he liked you, or whatever. But his parents hired me to come and work with him. And because he didn't have friends at school, people just the kids just couldn't get along with him. And he was very intelligent, very intelligent. So the way he spoke and the way he talked sometimes was a little bit above them. So versus them saying, I didn't understand what you said, or, to seek out more of him, they were either make fun of him, but no one really was his friend. So I would go over every evening, and so we would do a little bit of mindfulness, but I have to do it different. I have to learn my kids, and I have to find out what's going on with them, and we did a little different. And a little girl came one day. We were outside, and she had found a dog, and she was walking through the neighborhood and asking if this is your dog. So she says, excuse me, is this your dog? So he says, do I look like I have a dog? And so the little girl hurt her feelings. So we talked about that. And I said, look at her. I said, you hurt her feelings. How else could we have said that? And so we did those things. And there's some kids' mindfulness books out. And so I would get some of those, and we learned about outside. We would take walks, but we'd take slow walks. We'd listen for the birds. We would look in the grass. There's one that had us look for ants and things in the grass. And then even about the hair on your arm, to feel the hair on your arm. And so he would say, am I kind? And I said, yes, you are. But we just have to develop that. And one day you're going to discover what a kind person you are. It's all right in here. We just got to bring it out. And so one day I get to the house and I open the door and Miss Laura, Miss Laura. And I thought, oh gosh, what did he do? And so he says, guess what? Guess what? And I said, what? He said, I got a kindness award today. I said, you did? He said, yes. I said, oh my gosh, how did you do that? He said, I was really kind and I helped a little boy they couldn't see to the water fountain. I said, that is kind. I told you you were kind all along. So sometimes it's just showing people what it is and bringing it out of them and how the things are. And he didn't mean it intentionally, but that's just the way he talked. He was pretty Affleck. Do I look like I have a dog? You know, but when he discovered he had kindness in him, it was all on then. It was everything he was, and he would want, was that kind? That was very kind. That was very kind. Yeah. So I don't know if it's the children or the substance abuse, but I love doing it all. I love doing it all. And I especially love when they realize it for themselves.
I'm curious what one of your favorite mindfulness activities is.
Geez. Like I said, I love doing the Garden of Forgiveness with the individuals at the recovery house. Then I also like giving yourself love and kindness because we don't do that like we should. And there's a mantra that I love at the end, and it says we do it. We think about people that maybe we don't like so well, and we say we ask may you be oh look, because I was thinking of something else, my mind just left me. May you find happiness, may you live in peace, may you, I'm telling you wrong now. Why? Because my mind is gone. I'm so sorry. I just forgot the thing. It'll come back to me in a minute. But so at the end, that it's the mantra that I think really gets it for people. I try to end it in that versus just, okay, come on back to the room sometimes. John Kabat-Zinn has a lot of nice mantras, and man, my mind, look, we're talking about mine, aren't we? And his mind is gone. May you live with peace. May you live with ease.
May I be happy,
May,
healthy.
right. Yes. So the first one, you offer it to someone. The second one, you offer it to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that blessing is lovely. I'm wondering if you would lead us in a mindfulness practice, whether it's one of your favorite ones or one that's kind of just working for you right now.
Yeah. Giving yourself love and kindness is a good one. I think I have most of it memorized. Like I said, I do the guided, so I'm usually kind of reading them as I'm doing them. So I generally I ask individuals to get comfortable in however you're setting, whatever is comfortable for you. If it's on the floor, or if it's in the chair, but I just need you to be comfortable in it. I like for you to place your feet flat on the floor. If you have your legs crossed, uncross your legs. And just, find a comfortable place to put your hands. This is all about you, I tell individuals, because you've heard people say, stop being selfish. This is the opportunity to be selfish. Just make this all about you. And so once you find that comfortable place, and you close your eyes if you want, if you feel comfortable with that. If not, you can keep them open. And so before we begin, we're just going to take a nice gentle breath to just kind of calm ourselves and center us here. So let's take a deep breath in. We're going to hold it for a count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. Gently exhale. Let's begin by lightly controlling our mind to your own good qualities. Let these qualities remind you of what's good in you, what touches your heart about yourself. the gentle offer, this classic wishes of loving kindness to yourself, choosing phrases that best speak to your heart. We take a deep breath in here. Hold it. Exhale on 3. 1, 2, 3. And repeat after me. May I feel safe and protected.
May I feel safe and protected.
May I feel happy and peaceful.
May I feel happy and peaceful.
May I feel healthy and strong.
May I feel healthy and strong.
May I live with ease.
May I live with ease.
Let's take another deep breath in. Hold it for 3. 1, 2, 3. And gently exhale. See yourself as being a dear friend to yourself. Join me back in the room.
I love that. No one's led us in something like that before. Thank you for doing that, Lora.
Yeah, we think about others, but we very rarely give ourselves enough thought. And so we need to love and give ourselves. And we get that for ourselves, we can give it to others.
I'm a firm believer in that. I am wondering, what are some of the mindfulness activities that you teach to the kids? We're going to talk a little bit about your work here. I'm curious about some of the mindfulness activities you teach the kids, but also those in the recovery home.
Yeah. So with the kids, I have to kind of be creative. I have one class that has youth that have some disabilities. So I have to be creative because they're not going to sit still. They think, oh, this is boring or this is stupid or whatever. So I have to do it in creative ways. So we do coloring. And I find that they get quiet when they're coloring. And so I have from where I used to teach I used to teach suicide prevention to youth. A lot of times kids like to doodle and color, and even though you might think they're not paying attention, but they really are, but they're calming themselves down with this coloring stuff. So I have a lot of coloring sheets, so they like to color. And so while they're doing that, I play the mindfulness music. And they'll do the breathing a little bit here and there, not really knowing that they're doing it. But if I just try to have them sit there and do it, they're not going to do it. So they're busy, they're doing everything else. So I do that. I have one young man, he does not like the music. So he has to have his own music. And so we do, a lot of times I do the upper yoga to stretch them out, to get people going. I do that with my seniors. We do this. So he has a song. It's called Computer Love. And he loves computer love, but he will get to doing his shoulders and he's working himself out. And I say, well, okay, let's take a breath now. And so it's working, finding whatever works for them. Because if it's taking them out of their comfort zone, they're not going to do it and they're not going to remember it. And if he or she starts to yell, and I say, okay, so what can we do right here? Or that's not an appropriate response. So how else can we respond? Or do we even have to respond? Because I have my big chart, what I can control and what I can't control. And they love that. And I say, okay, look at the head. Where are we? Are we in the, I can control it or I cannot? And so that's a little bit different, I guess, in the mindfulness, but I feel like it's still in the agenda of mindfulness because it's teaching them the way that they understand it and will retain it.
It's awareness. That's huge for kids, adults too, but it's awareness.
Yes, yes. And so then at my recovery house, there's mindfulness, there's guided mindfulness for drug addiction. And so we do that. Like last week, we just did forgiveness, and so I don't do my recovery sessions as they do when they go for the big book and all the other things. I do a little different. I ask them, let's talk about how you got to where you were today, because no one just wakes up and says, you know what, I'm gonna be a drug addict today, or I'm gonna be an alcoholic. There's a journey to get to that. and there's steps that happened in your life. So we need to walk those steps. And you have to understand how you got to today in order to unravel this. So that's what I do with them. So we do mindfulness with that, and we talk about forgiveness, because a lot of times the family or the household is where it came from. It wasn't that someone on the street introduced them. So being able to forgive that parent or that sibling or whoever did it or however, and I remind them that sometimes people can only give you what was given to them. And this is sometimes transgenerational trauma. And so we had somewhere in there, we've got to break this transgenerational trauma. So let us start with you. And we talk about that and how you got here. And sometimes it's tearful for them to realize that my mom offered me that first beer or that alcohol, or my mom and my dad, that's the way they lived all of their life. So I thought it was okay. I thought it was right, but I got stuck in it and I couldn't function. I couldn't get out of it. So, and I do that, and I understand that because my grandfather was an alcoholic. This is my birth family. My grandfather was an alcoholic. There was many alcoholics in my birth family. And I couldn't understand, how come you just can't stop? Why can't you just stop? So my interest was piqued in that. So I learned more about that. And I think that's why I went this way with my recovery house. I couldn't help them then because I didn't have the knowledge, the skills, nor the ability to do it. But God has blessed me with that. And so this is my way of helping them. Those, they have passed on, but this is my way of helping them through that. And I share that with them. I said, I'm not an alcoholic, never have been a drug addict. I married a man that I loved dearly, became a drug addict in the 70s, couldn't kick it. He went to recovery house. He couldn't kick it. I didn't have these skills. I didn't know how to do that. We ended up divorcing, but we stayed friends. He has passed, but he passed as a drug addict. He just could never kick it. As they say, he could just never get over it. And so I think a combination of all of that is me trying to help them heal and get through it.
I see that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question I've not asked anybody else on the show.
Oh, okay.
Yes, which is, what is one big dream of yours?
One big dream. I would love to have 5 or 10 cap houses, small cap houses, and continue this journey to help people find themselves.
I would love to share at this point how people can learn more about the work that you're doing. Where can they find more about Beautiful Minds, or how do they even get connected to Cap's house?
Yeah, so my website is under construction. I think I have 2 pages left on it right now, but I have someone working on it. But www.beautifulminds, which is all one word, but it ends with a Z on minds.
Okay, so it's www.beautifulminds with a Z at the end.
Dash LLC. And then my email is beautifulminds0415@yahoo.com. So they can reach me through there for either to come do maybe some meditation, some mindfulness, or to ask about Cap's House. I don't really have a website for Cap's House at this point. As I said, most of my referrals come through the VA, so I don't. I take that back. One of the guys did make a web page, which is very beautiful. He talks about his time there and he takes pictures and shows. It's very nice, but I don't know how. It's not a regular website, so I don't know how to post it. So that he says that would be a good thing, but because it's such a small house and I only have one house, and it's a forever home, They don't leave if they don't want to. And if they stay and clean and doing the program, they don't have to. So I don't really create a waiting list because they may not leave. Like I said, I have one that he's there over, this is coming up his second winter with me, as he calls it. And so I don't really, but feel free to call and inquire about it.
And was your domain, your website, does it have a .com or .org at the end?
.com.
Okay.
.com. Yeah.
But it has a -LLC. So it's www.beautifulminds with a Z -LLC.com. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Now we've got that. You can learn more there or get in touch with her via email to, have some mindfulness training brought to schools or corporate scenarios, or to learn more about CAPS Home.
For the individuals, I do, just
Okay.
individuals. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm wondering, how do most folks find out about your recovery house? I can't remember if you mentioned that.
Through the vet's court.
Okay.
And then kind of word of mouth. And so then I go to recovery houses and I do the mindfulness. And so sometimes they'll say, well, how do you know about? And I'll say, well, I have a recovery house. From social workers as well. And when they go, the judge talks about it at court. I was at court today. They have court every Friday. And so the judge thanks me for CAPS House because I kind of get the people that haven't been very successful. And they become successful at the house. I don't do it, but they've become successful. So I have some people that their journey through this has been very, very hard. Like today, and I was there, and the judge says, "You're at CAPS House. Look at you, And so this gentleman, he's been an alcoholic for almost 30 years. But he has 3 months clean. And for some people, 3 months just 3 months. That's a whirlwind for him, 3 months.
Well, congratulations for helping and being part of that. I know that you like to say that folks really do the work themselves, but you are certainly a guide, a catalyst, if you will, and you provide the environment where folks can thrive.
I try.
I think that's wonderful.
I try.
As we near the end of our conversation, I would love to invite you to do the glowy daily reflection practice. If I could lead you through that, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes.
All right. So the glowy daily reflection practice is an original practice that I developed, and I placed it in my book, The Chaos Antidote, A Fable About Mindfulness, as well as its companion workbook. And glowy is an acronym. The G stands for grateful. You get to share something or a few things that you're grateful for. The L is for lift up. These are things that need resources, time, money, whatever it might be, for us or for other people. The O is for observe. We know that mindfulness is big in observation, that awareness component. Maybe something, maybe your shirt collar is a little bit itchy, or maybe, you're just feeling good today. You just notice your heart is light, whatever it might be there. The W is for wholesome intention, also very critical and central in mindfulness practices. Setting an intention is really important. And the last one is why. You are. And the why stands for you are, in that you get to give yourself a little bit of self-love, like we were working on earlier. We get to affirm ourselves before we head out into our next moments. So Absolutely. We'll start back at G. Tell us something you're grateful for.
Oh, I am grateful that I have learned not only how to love myself, but to give it to others.
I see that. The L is for lift up. What is something you would like to lift up?
Lift up everyone that's downtrodden, everyone that's feeling sad. I hope I have a word. I hope my voice, a lot of people tell me my voice calms them. I hope can be that person for them.
The observe, the O for observe. What is something that you observe?
I love to observe people's behaviors and their reactions, and just to learn what it is that makes people tick. And then I try to create my mindfulness or my time with them around the observation that I've learned of them.
So in this interview, you've observed what?
Amy. And yes, and what I get from you is it's a fun loving person, but then serious. You can be serious. Very dedicated to whatever it is you're doing, and a kind heart.
Oh, well, this took an unexpected turn. We've not done that part before. You took it way deeper than what I had even anticipated. So thank you for that. That's very kind. The W stands for wholesome intention. So I want to hear, what is your wholesome intention, Lora?
My wholesome intention, it just keeps going back to being loving. That's all I can come up with, that my wholesome intention. Clean heart and being loving.
And the last one is that self-love for yourself. You led us in a practice of self-love. You just gave me some positive affirmation. Now you get to do it for yourself. Lora, you are.
Lora, you are Lora. And there is no one like you, and you should embrace that and celebrate that and love her for who she is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Lora. This has been a beautiful conversation. I will reiterate what other folks tell you. Your voice is very calm. In fact, before we even got started, we're having all kinds of technical issues, and you led us in a quiet practice before we even flipped on the cameras, and it just changed the atmosphere. And I'm so glad we did that. Your voice is very calm. It is another part of your tool belt, as you've been gifted with a very calm voice and a very kind heart. Thank you for the work that you do to help children and the homeless and our veterans, helping folks in all walks of life, wherever they are, and helping them pull themselves up and live to their full potential. That is a beautiful gift. And I thank you for sharing it with the world.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you as well. Read your bio. So
thank you so
you're
much.
Doing some wonderful things as well. So it's two of us. So let's keep gathering more and more. And pretty soon we'll just have the whole universe.
I love it. Let's do it. Well, from my heart to yours, may you live with ease. This is your host, Amy Morgan, signing off.